Anitimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitram Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanadavindam Tavevasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, we're going to continue one last day here hearing about the glories of Lord Shiva. And we always begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Sto Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnadavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Sto Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, under our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So today also, disappearance day of three very exalted Vaishnavas. First is Rasikananda Prabhu, who was almost contemporary with Mahaprabhu. Right? Wasn't he not almost, wasn't he the guru of Baladeva Vibhushan? No. I think. Huh?
Disciple of Shamananda Prabhu, so that time doesn't naturally.
Well then, and his disciple, Damodar or someone, I think, was the guru. He's like the Param guru of maybe Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Baladeva Vibhushan. I didn't have a chance to research this, but very exalted personality in our line. And also Jagannath Das Babaji, the Shiksha guru for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktidayata Madhav Maharaj, who was a very important, significant, powerful disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, a spiritual master of Bhakti Balabhatirtha Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj, established very beautiful temples in different places in India. We used to visit his place in Hyderabad, very nice temple there. And other places. And in Puri, we would stay there during Rath Yatra. His brahmachari name was Hayagriva, and he did a lot of seva for Saraswati Prabhupada. He also acquired the land at the Godavari, the place where Ramananda Roy had spoken and met with Mahaprabhu. And that was a very difficult task, he and Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And they had been there a long time, and Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, I think we've done everything we can. We've exhausted our efforts. I don't think we're going to get this land, because getting land in India can be very difficult sometimes. Local areas have so much control. But then I agree. I don't know if he was sannyas yet or not, but he said, no, this is just the beginning of our effort. Sridhar Maharaj says, when everyone else's effort is ended, his just begins. And he says he has volcanic energy. And there's a beautiful book based on lectures and descriptions by Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj, many stories about him and his seva. And he was also instrumental in helping our Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, acquire his first land in Mayapur. Because while he was trying, for quite some time, the local communist government was thwarting him. But Bhaktivedanta Madhav Maharaj was very expert in these things, and he had a lot of political clout as well. And so Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj called him and asked him to help our Prabhupada. And at that time, our Srila Prabhupada, he was very vigorously preaching and sometimes criticizing his godbrothers for not cooperating together. And then, just staying in India. Some of them were doing that, and he would say they're just ringing bells. And Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he took a little umbrage to that. And when Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, he just says we're ringing bells, we're not doing preaching. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, oh, but to ring the bell in Swamiji's worldwide Sankirtan mission, what a glorious activity. And Bhaktivedanta Maharaj is a great Vaishnava and a great preacher, and so very soft-hearted. And when he heard that, he said, oh, okay, I'll help him. And he helped, and that's how they got the first land. So the godbrothers, sometimes they would argue about how to do things or what's right, what's wrong, but Srila Prabhupada said, most of them were pure devotees, and the arguments were on a different level. We should never, ever, ever take the side of one and criticize another. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, if you do that, you're finished, right? They're arguing and even competing on a completely different plane. It's like you would never dare to criticize Chandravali or her group in her competition with Radhika. You'd be finished immediately. She's Radhika's dear cousin sister. She's Radhika's own expansion. It's all Leela. It's all infinite varietal in pastimes, right? So, in the same way, Lord Shiva has many different functions and features, and people understand him quite differently in different ways. Gurudev has given many beautiful descriptions of his identity and different roles, right? In his highest form, he's Gopishwar Mahadev in Vrindavan, serving the gopis and Krishna in that mood, in female form. He also has his form as Shiva, and relates to Krishna in Prakat Leela in that form. Many stories about that. We'll hear some. And then he also has his own planet in the Vaikuntha realm, just below the regular Vaikuntha planet, Sadashiv Loka. And in that form, he is Vishnu Tattva. And then there's another special form, Shambhu, where he is carrying the semblance of the glance of Mahavishnu, the creative potency, the desire for creation, and the ingredients for creation, and he impregnates Mahamaya, his consort, who's an expansion of Ramadevi, the consort of Mahavishnu. We heard all this the last couple of days. I'm just recapping. And that Shambhu is not Vishnu Tattva, but he has the Abhiman of being a Purusha. But he has very many special qualities to him that make him able to interact with the material energy and perform the functions that he does in the material world. He is a guna avatar, the avatar overseeing the mode of tamagun. So he is one who is the worshipable lord of many demons, right? But also he gives blessings and mercy to them and helps them on their way spiritually. He's also in charge of destruction, although he's involved in the immediate creation by energizing Mahamaya. Then Mahamaya becomes the secondary nimitta and upadan causes of the material world. Remember, the nimitta is the instrumental cause, the desire, the intelligence, the force behind it, like the potter who wants to make a clay pot, and then he uses clay, he uses his wheel, different instruments, and then the ingredients, the upadan, right? So she becomes both, but secondary. And his relationship is to inspire her with that desire coming from Mahavishnu, and she has her power coming from Ramadevi because she's Shakti. And then there are the Rudra expansions, which are generally the Shivas that we see in this world, right? And they're special forms, special expansions of that Sadashiv, and sometimes even Jiva souls can be Rudras. We heard about that in some cases. if a jiva soul performs perfectly the duties of varnashram as a Brahmin, I guess for 100 lifetimes, then they can become a Lord Brahma. And if that, in that form of Lord Brahma, if they haven't exhausted their desire to be in this material world and interact with it, but they perform their Lord Brahma duties perfectly for 100 lifetimes, then they can become a Rudra, Shiva. Very rare though, right? Very rare. So, now we heard also that Lord Shiva interacts with Krishna in different ways, because Krishna appears in this world in his sweetness pastimes in Vrindavan, in his pastimes that have more Aishvarya in them, in Dwarka and in as Ram Leela, right? And so the pastimes with Lord Shiva are a little different. So Gurudev's going to explain. He says, this is going to broaden our understanding. Don't think we're going to get all of this in 3 little lectures. This is just a broad overview. And we can't even finish this book. It's a delightful book, this Siva Tattva book. It's just a pamphlet. Very good, though. So, the historical narrations that follow are examples of Aishvarya Gata Vichar, right? Lord Shiva's relationship with Krishna from the perspective of Krishna's majesty. Revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam, these transcendental histories demonstrate Lord Shiva's dependence on him. They also further reveal that when Lord Shiva gives benedictions to Krishna's enemies, he does so to assist in the Supreme Lord's pastimes, which are performed for the benefit of all beings. Right? So that's what we're talking about. He is the worshipable deity of many demons, right? Frikasura, Ravan, others, and he gives them these benedictions which appear, why are you doing that? You're going to create chaos in the world. But it's all part of the Lord's plan. And it enables wonderful pastimes, the Lord to show himself. And ultimately, there's going to be some conflicts, great battles. Even Krishna's going to get involved and fight with Lord Shiva and his sons in some cases, but to show his superiority and to enjoy that Lord Shiva will give him a very good battle, right? Who can give him such a battle as Lord Shiva? So, Srimad Bhagavatam tells of a demon named Vrikasura, who, desiring to enjoy Lord Shiva's wife Parvati, performed severe austerities to please Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva appeared before him to grant him a benediction, Vrikasura expressed his desire that as soon as he would touch the head of anyone, that person's head would immediately split open and he would die. Lord Shiva granted that benediction, and he did austerities for a long time. And ultimately, when he wasn't getting the result, he started cutting off his limbs, his arms, his legs, throwing them into the fire, and then he was prepared to cut his own head off. And just before he did that, Lord Shiva said, okay, I'm coming. What do you want? And then he said, I want this benediction. And Lord Shiva said, okay. So he's restored. He has his benediction, and then he begins to look crookedly at Lord Shiva. Lustily at Parvati. He hid that desire. Right? He wanted Shiva out of the way so he could take Parvati. And so Shiva says, what are you doing? He replied, now I am applying my benediction. He did not say, I want Parvati. He simply looked at Parvati and then ran towards Lord Shiva. Fearful, Shiva ran away, and Vrikasura immediately chased after him. Lord Shiva was attired in a deer skin, which fell off, and then his damaru, his drum, also fell. He kept running, however, and he's running everywhere, planet to planet to planet, and there's demons after him. Finally, he surrendered. He remembered, his Lord, and his worshipable deity, Lord Krishna, and this is Aishvarya Gata Vichar. Actually, he, in some forms, he worships Sankarshan, Lord Narayan. In this case, he says remembering Krishna. And he fled from the land to the sky, and from the sky to other planets until he reached the limits of the universe. But Vrikasura continued to chase him. The predominating deities of higher planets, such as Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, were not able to save him from the impending danger because he had this higher benediction from Lord Shiva, more powerful than all of them. He could have touched Lord Brahma's foreheads. Ultimately, of course, Krishna doesn't let his devotees be destroyed. Well, sometimes he does, like in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Even his own family, he allowed them to destroy each other, but generally, right? So then he approached Krishna's incarnation, Lord Vishnu, in Shvetadvipa. That's the localized Vaikuntha planet in this universe. In order to protect his devotee, Lord Vishnu appeared as a perfect brahmachari, and the effulgence emanating from his body was attractive to both Shiva and the demon. So the demon's running down the road, chasing, wherever Lord Shiva is, and then this beautiful brahmachari standing by the road. And he stopped Vrikashura, who's charmed, and he offered obeisance to him. And he began speaking sweet words, reassuring words to win his confidence. And who could be more charming, more beguiling than the Lord? Why are you running after Shiva? Vrikashura replied, he has given me the benediction that when I put my hand on someone's head, it will split open. Now I will use this benediction on him. Then Lord Vishnu, in the dress of the brahmachari, said, you are so foolish. You believe the benediction of this Shiva, this man who smokes ganja, takes all types of intoxication, and lives in crematoriums? Do you believe that he is authorized and powerful enough to give benedictions? His benediction will prove futile. He's just fooling you. He's cheating you. You are running after him, but in the end, you will find that his benediction is ineffective. And the demon says, what? You don't believe me? Try it on yourself. Put your hand on your head. You'll see nothing happens. Huh? He does it. Got so bewildered. Yes, I will try. And this way, by Lord Vishnu's sweet words and by the influence of his illusory energy, the demon became bewildered. He forgot the power of Lord Shiva and his benediction. He put his hand on his own head and immediately split open, and he died. This pastime gives evidence that Lord Shiva is not independent. His worshipable deity is Krishna. In fact, that is one of the offenses to the holy name, second offense, to think that the different demigods are independent Ishvaras, independent. That's the conception of Bahu Ishvaravad, many controllers. And so you should not offer them that same worship as you do Sri Krishna, but they are Shakti-avesh, these principal demigods of the Lord. Actually, the Lord has special demigods in the Vaikuntha realm, and they are empowered partially by these original forms in the Vaikuntha realm and represent these powers. So we should also, understanding them as agents of the Lord, not disrespect them either, but understand their position, right? So, shows that Lord Shiva is not independent. All the pastimes performed by Shiva are meant to teach everyone about Sri Krishna's supremacy and to inspire everyone to serve him and take shelter of him. The following history is another example. The demigods once fought with the demons and defeated them. The demons then took shelter of their leader, Mayadanava, who then prepared 3 mystic airplane-like residences for them. The demons thus began to vanquish all the planetary systems. Mayadanava is this greatly powerful mystic personality. He's like the Vishwakarma of the demons. Maybe more. Vishwakarma is like the great architect. Mayadanava has so many mystic powers. When Bali was fighting the demigods, when his demons were killed, Mayadanava had a special pool that dead bodies could be dipped into and they'd be brought back to life, back to the fight. He also built the palace of Yudhishthira Maharaj after they had been given this kind of what was the name of the forest that they were in? not the Khandava forest, that was the one that burnt down, and Mayadanava was in that, and Arjuna was tasked by Agni, please burn this forest down. Every time I try to burn it down, Indra comes and puts it out, because Indra had some connection with that. So Arjuna said, yes, I will do, but I need a bow and a quiver of arrows that is inexhaustible. And so Agni gave him this special Gandiva bow and the special quiver that never ran out, and a special chariot, which were later used in the Battle of Kurukshetra. And he created a dome of arrows that Indra couldn't penetrate. And so then Agni set the forest on fire, but Mayadanava was in the forest. And usually when the animals were coming out, Arjuna shot them and kept all of them in there so that they'd all be consumed. But when Mayadanava came out, he begged and took shelter at Krishna and Arjuna's feet. And so he said, because you saved me in the future when you need me, Indraprastha, that was the name of the place. It was a dead forest. And this is where Duryodhana gave the Pandavas for their kingdom. But by the energy of Mayadanava, they built a splendid complex, palace, and city more wonderful than Hastinapur. Right? So anyway, Mayadanava created these 3 super powerful Vimanas, airplanes. And they began to destroy the higher planetary systems. The rulers of those planets went to Lord Shiva, surrendered unto him, and said, dear Lord, we demigods are about to be vanquished. We are your followers. Kindly save us. Lord Shiva reassured them and said, do not be afraid. He fixed his arrows to his bow and then released them toward the 3 residences occupied by the demons. All the demons were killed. The great mystic Mayadanava then dropped the bodies of the demons into a nectarian well he had created, making the demons return to life and become practically invincible. Shiva became worried. Saying this, Lord Krishna, in his form as Lord Vishnu, considered how to help him destroy the demons. Lord Vishnu became a cow, Lord Brahma became a calf, and they entered the residences and drank all the nectar in the well, because you can't kick out a cow when they come into your house. Actually, in Vrindavan, when I was staying at Rup Sanatan, Gaudiya Math, Gurudev's temple there, almost every morning this giant bull would come in there, right? And he would want to be fed, and they would bring this giant pot of leftover dal or khichdi, whatever it was. Even one time they brought in this stuff that was so hot that nobody could eat it. So it was all left over, and a bull would eat it, right? And then he'd go out to another place. And there are certain bulls and cows that wander around like that, and you have to let them in. So this cow and this little calf wandered into the place where Mayadanava had this nectar well, and they drank it all up. This is Lord Vishnu. Then by his personal potency of religion, knowledge, renunciation, opulence, austerity, education, and so on, Krishna equipped Lord Shiva with everything he needed for the battle. He manifested a chariot, a charioteer, a flag, horses, elephants, a bow, a shield, and arrows. And Lord Shiva sat down on the chariot to fight. He destroyed 3 residences of the demons. The inhabitants of the higher planets glorified and worshipped him, and he became known as Tripurari, the annihilator of the 3 dwellings of the demons. I have a godbrother named Tripurari. It's a good name for him because he was like the topmost book distributor in the time of Srila Prabhupada. So he was annihilating the demons by his forceful preaching. So don't fear. Krishna, Gurudev says now to the audience, don't fear. Krishna will save you if you offer yourself to him. He himself has promised this in the Bhagavad Gita. What did he say? Kantaya pratijanihi name bhakta panashyati, right? If you hand over your complete responsibility in life to him, not only your bodily maintenance, but your intelligence, your senses, and everything else you possess. Everything, right? Body, mind, intelligence, right? Soul, right? Everything. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. He will take full care and responsibility for you. Don't fear. No suffering or sorrow of any kind will be able to touch you. Moreover, you will be able to enter the realm of bhakti and be happy forever. So why do we do it? We hear that all the time. What's holding us back? A few things. One is we don't want to give these things up. We'd like to be happy and free from all distress, but we're still attached to the things that we consider happiness in this world. So we're like the monkey. You know how they catch monkeys in India? They get a coconut and they make a hole in it, small hole, and then they put some sweet inside it, right? And then the monkey reaches in to grab it, and then the guy comes with a stick. But the coconut is nailed down to the wood, to the log. And the monkey won't let go of the sweet. He's so attached to the sweet. And he wants to run away from the guy with the stick, but he's attached to the sweet. So, So the guy comes up, bashes on the head, captures him, and takes him away. And that's us. We're like monkeys with their hands in the coconut. We want the benediction, we want all the happiness that we hear about in the spiritual realm, but we don't want to give up our independence. We don't want to give up our sense of control, Purusha Bhav, right? And we don't want to give up the things that we consider happiness. And that happens on the gross level, the body, the senses, the subtle level, the intelligence, and the mind, and the false ego, which directs everything to us. But Krishna will take care of everything. And that's why we have to read these scriptures about our higher identity and realize if we just let go, then everything will be taken care of. How many times did Gurudev go around the world telling people, actually I was just talking with Vrindavan yesterday, he was talking about morning walks in Badger and how he was telling the devotees there, just give everything else up. You don't need your family, this or that. They don't need you. You just chant and everything, Krishna will provide everything. And we think of everything, we think, yeah, but I need this also, I need that also. But then he would give the example of the Goswamis, who had nothing. Nothing. They had a loincloth, maybe a little shawl to put over their shoulders. That's it. But they were so absorbed in blissful spiritual consciousness and internally and externally seeing Krishna everywhere. Being with Krishna, being with the devotees. They were in that reality. That's there for us. So he says, he'll take care. So he took care of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva surrendered. He was always surrendered. So this is to show his dependence on the Lord. By his own power, even he had some limit there. So, Shiva's worshipable deity, further evidence of Lord Shiva's relationship with Krishna. Oh, this is a great one. In the Supreme Lord's pastime of majesty is found in the history of Aniruddha. Usha and Aniruddha. I remember when I was a young brahmachari, we had a Vaikuntha Players, a theater group. And there's only a handful of us. It became famous later on, but we were the first ones. So we do these plays. And one of them was Usha and Aniruddha. Right? I played Aniruddha. I was played the hero. And they covered completely in blue everywhere, head to toe. Aniruddha is the grandson of Lord Krishna, right? Son of Pradyumna. And he wanted to marry the daughter of Banasura, her name was Usha, a demoniac person who was a staunch devotee of Lord Shiva. Actually, Banasura was the son of Vamandev and Priti Devi. But he had become a demon by bad association, just to show us that anybody can become a demon. But again, this is Leela, pastime. And he had 1,000 arms, and he served Lord Shiva with all of them. Right? I told you this the other day, right? He wants to go to the gym because his arms are itching. He's got to engage them. I said, hey, go chop some wood. Use that plow. I said, what are you, Banasura? Banasura would go to the mountains and smash them with his 1,000 arms just to satisfy the itch in his arms, right? But he could handle, 500 bows at a time and 500 arrows. And he served Lord Shiva with all of them. He'd play drums, right? He assisted Shiva's famous dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. And he thus received the benediction of protection from his enemies. Nobody could defeat Bana. Krishna was informed by Sri Narad that Banasura and his army had fought with and arrested Aniruddha for intimately meeting with Banasura's daughter Usha. What happened was, Usha was living protected in the palace of Banasura, and she was having dreams of this beautiful young boy. And she spoke to her confidant, Chitralekha. And Chitralekha was her friend, who was also an expert artist. And she said, "Oh, if you describe this boy to me, I'll paint him. I know all the famous personalities." And she began to paint all these personalities, different demigods, kings and princes. And then she painted Pradumya, who looked a lot like who she wanted, but not quite. And then she painted Aniruddha. And then Usha became very shy. And then Chitralekha said, "I have a mantra." And when Aniruddha was sleeping, she brought him into the private rooms of Usha without anybody knowing. And then they were together for many, many months. And nobody knew, and they were totally in love. And then she got pregnant. And Banasura began to see those signs, and he said, "How could this happen? She's been completely protected in the palace." And then he went into the quarters, and he saw them together, speaking, having some sweet little conversation. And he saw Aniruddha, and he became infuriated, and he began to attack him. But Aniruddha was no slouch. He was very heroic himself, and he began to fight back very well. And it was a big, big battle. He was able to get all the soldiers and knock them off, but then Banasura used a special Pashupati noose, right? A noose of Lord Shiva, and he arrested Aniruddha with that. And so they heard that he was arrested by Banasura for intimately meeting with Banasura's daughter Usha. Therefore, in order to save Aniruddha, he called upon his own army, the Yadu dynasty, and advanced on Banasura's city. When Banasura saw Lord Krishna's army, he immediately ordered his men to fight. So now, Krishna loves a good battle. All his men, all these Yadavas, he's coming from Dwarka, and Banasura had a big army too. And Lord Shiva arrived there at that time, but instead of praying to his Lord, he apparently took the side of his own devotee, Banasura. He personally began fighting with Krishna as Banasura's commander-in-chief. And his sons, Kartikeya and Ganesh, also fought on his side against Pradumya and Krishna's friends and relatives too. So it's a great, great battle, right? And he shot many weapons at Krishna, including his Pashupata Astra, his ultimate weapon, the Shiva jar, but all of them failed. During the battle, the Shiva jar is the fire of destruction of the universe. At the end, when Lord Brahma leaves this world, Lord Shiva burns the entire universe to ashes. So he launched that, more powerful than any Brahmastra. But Lord Narayan had the Narayanastra, which is the freezing cold weapon. Mm-hmm. And ordinarily, the heat weapon nobody could defeat. But Prabhupada says in Krishna book, when the two weapons meet, he says, heat is very powerful, but very hot temperatures somehow you can tolerate. But freezing cold, nobody can stand. So the Shiva jar became afflicted by the cold and gradually began to lose its heat and began to shiver and tremble and began to offer prayers. We did that play, "Oh, my Lord, I surrender unto you." So then Lord Shiva is defeated, but then Banasura showered his weapons upon Sri Krishna with his 1,000 arms. And Krishna then cut off his arms. And he's cutting them off one by one. Finally, he left only 4. And Lord Shiva, realizing that he was helpless to save his devotee, surrendered to Lord Krishna and offered his heartfelt prayers. He began to pray on behalf of his devotee. Oh, please forgive this demon. Bless him. Right? So, after hearing Lord Shiva's prayers, Lord Krishna told him that because Banasura was the son, he's the son of Bali Maharaj. Oh, I got him confused. Who is the son of Varaha and Priti Devi? He also became a demon. Who is he? Anyway, I got corrected. Good. Son of Bali Maharaj and the great-grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. And because he was favored by Lord Shiva himself, he would not only spare Banasura's life, but would give him immortality. He became a devotee. And because he's in that dynasty, he had already been promised by Lord Nrsingadev, your dynasty will be protected and will become devotees. So, many more stories. Oh, the story of Pandraka. I think we're going to have to, let me see where we are here. I could tell one more story. This is a great story. The king of Kasi, this is, Kasi, Varanasi, all the Shaivites and Mayavads, was a staunch devotee of Lord Shiva, and he took the side of Pandraka Vasudev. Pandraka Vasudev was that king who put himself 2 fake arms, which were probably really good fakes back then, Even now, with our science, we can do prosthetics and things, more and more realism, So he had these 2 fake arms, and he claimed, I am Vasudeva, I am Lord Narayan, right? And he lived with this king of Kasi. And he had previously received a benediction from Lord Shiva to be able to defeat Krishna in combat. But in this battle, he was not only defeated, but was killed. With the assistance of his Sudarshan Chakra, Sri Krishna killed Pandraka, and by his arrows, he killed the king of Kashi. Having cut off the head of the king, he then arranged to throw it into the city of Kashi. The king had a son named Sudakshina, who was determined to avenge the death of his father. Sudakshina thus worshipped the Lord of Kashi, Vishwanath, Lord Shiva, who then instructed him to perform a special ritualistic ceremony that calls forth a demon for the purpose of killing one's enemy. Lord Shiva also sanctioned his ghostly companions to accompany the fire demon, and Dwarka then fell under attack. Insurmountable fire demon. But Lord Krishna called for his Sudarshan Chakra, which froze the demon and forced him to return to Kashi and destroy his creators. Moreover, following behind the demon, the Sudarshan Chakra burned the entire city to ashes. One thing about Tantra, when you use the black arts of Tantra to attack somebody, if it fails, it bounces back on you. The very energy and the demons that you use, ghosts and whatever, if they can't attack, they come back and get you. And I know stories about that, of people that have used Tantra unsuccessfully, and it came back on them, and then they became afflicted by something bad, some kind of disease, right? Ultimately, Tantrics, they are people that they go to a guru, they learn the power, and then ultimately they turn on their own gurus because they're so tamasic and lusty. And the gurus who used this tantric energy their whole life, almost always they end up dying a horrible death. Slow, terrible, painful death. And then their followers become powerful for so many years, and then they end up like that. This is very common in South India. You see that a lot. Right? One time in Bombay, one politician was trying to take over the land acquired by Srila Prabhupada to build that beautiful temple in Juhu. And he tried so many things, and he started trying Tantra and employing ghosts and all kinds of things as well. And then he even brought gundas to try to burn down the temple. Right? It wasn't built yet. They just had a temporary shed with the deities. And he wanted to destroy the deities, because as long as the deities were there, he couldn't do anything legal. So he wanted to destroy them. He was unsuccessful. Srila Prabhupada's devotees, he had some wealthy men who came to his assistance. But then one lady, the mother of one lady devotee, her name was Gandharvika, and her mother, a lot of people in India know this stuff, and she said, as you have used your power to try to burn the deity, you will die by burning yourself. You will consume yourself in fire. And so this politician, very quickly, he got this horrible, horrible skin disease. It was so painful. It was like worms eating him, fire burning him, skin erupting in boils and pain, all day long, unbelievable torment. Kind of like Gopal Chapala. Maybe worse, I don't know. But it got so bad, he was so tormented that he doused himself with gasoline and burned himself alive to end his pain. I have to burn my skin. My skin is giving me so much pain. He just went mad and burned himself alive. Right? That's what happens when you misuse these powers. So the whole city, right? So at that time, even Lord Shiva had to run from the city. Where his deerskin fell again, he did not know. He also left his trident and everything else, including his wife, and quickly fled. He arrived at a place in Navadvip called Harihara Chatra. Very famous place, wonderful place we visit. And there he took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is all described in the Navadvip Mahatmya. Very beautiful. And Lord Shiva resides there eternally to this day. He also lives in Puri, lives in Kashi, he lives in Vrindavan, all the forests, so many places. But in Navadvip, in that special place, if anyone dies there, Lord Shiva will come and whisper in their ear and give them liberation. Right? Spiritual liberation, not impersonal liberation. And there's a deity there of Hari and Hara, of Lord Shiva, half white deity and half black deity. Right? Who knows how this would happen, right? You know, the deity's there, and it's half, what kind of so-called stone would you carve a deity from like that? There's another deity like that, even more so, when we go up to Nandagand at the top of the hill, right? And the place of Nanda Maharaj where we worship them and have a nice ceremony. If you go out of the temple on one side, down the steps, there's a little tiny temple across the street, and there's a deity of Krishna who's half white and half black, right? And you say, oh, well, they just got a stone that was white and that was black. But Krishna's leg is crossed, and his arm is crossed, and the half side that's white, the leg crosses over to the black side, right? And the white arm crosses over to the black side. Couldn't have carved him from a stone like that. Special. And Gurudev said this is, special like Radha Krishna, like the Hare Krishna mantra, Very beautiful deity. Very beautiful deity. And hardly anybody goes there. Nobody knows about it. That's not true. Lots of people know about it. But during our parikram, we don't generally go there. But Prankishore took me there one time. He told me the story of going there with Gurudev. Beautiful deity. So, anyway, then there's going to be Lord Shiva serving in human-like pastimes, where he's not serving Krishna in majesty, knowing that Krishna is his superior, but he's assisting Krishna's childhood pastimes in Braj and assuming a different mood in relationship. But I'm not sure if we will do this or not. We have to continue on. Mahaprabhu's appearance is coming in a very short time. So we have to get back to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just a taste of Lord Shiva. Maybe one day we'll spend 3 or 4 weeks. There's so much to read about him. So we'll stop here, offering obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Rasikananda Prabhu, Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, to Bhaktidayata Madhav Goswami Maharaj on their Tirubhav, their disappearance, to all the Sama Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Gaur Prema Nande Hari Hari Bol.